huge news this week that broke that Microsoft actually acquired Bethesda and the parent company ZeniMax Media for 7.5 billion. That's a billion US dollars. And as Bethesda and then ZeniMax sort of expanded the publishing you've got Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, Arkane, Tango Gameworks, and there's even more. And then I think interestingly for everyone, that back catalogue and just a number of, really A tier or S tier IPs that they have under that belt. Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, Quake, and then Starfield's coming up. Which I believe has actually had some leaks this week and just over the last few days, which I haven't really checked out too much to check. But that seems to be shaping up really well as well. And, they've made really strong confirmations that all future games will be published on Game Pass day and date. And they've also said that it will be available on Xbox, so Xbox Series X and S, and PC, which is kind of really interesting for me in my case, because I don't have an Xbox, but I have a gaming PC. And then probably the one thing I wanted to chat to you about is just, that the multi-platform releases. I've watched pretty much all the interviews that Phil Spencer's done and, the Xbox podcast. And whenever that topic has come up, he's really tried to push it away into, hey, if you have Game Pass, you'll get the games day and date for free, or as part of your subscription. And then when he's probed, he always says, well, case by case basis, we'll look at that. So immediate thoughts for you, because you're a huge, you don't have, I'll say this, even though you're so into Xbox, I wouldn't actually say you're an Xbox fanboy, because, you're more than happy to get a PlayStation, but that's sort of where you do your gaming. So this must be really good news for you.
Yeah, well, Xbox mainly with Switch on the side is probably, my current, I guess, gaming setup. I do play on PC every now and then, but it's mainly stuff that I'll play through the Xbox Game Pass. So it's kind of still within the Xbox ecosystem. Look, this was not only obviously was this huge news, and you texted me about it, and I'm like, oh man, I think it was who was it? Jason Schreier from Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Kind of tweeted out just before.
He just broke it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then it's then Xbox put their thing up on their blog, and it's oh my god, this is happening. This is insane. This, I can't think of news that's this big. Honestly, I can't remember the last story. I'd say it's on the same level. It's kind of insane.
Then this story, you mean in the last few years or whatever?
Well, just in terms of this is huge. But it was so interesting to watch it play out. Where on Reddit and on the comment sections of the articles that I was reading, where oh my god, people were going at it, and it was just a free for all. You had Twitter trending with Konami, Sony buy Konami in response, and that's the way it works. No, what it was we need to buy Konami, as in they're Sony, But
well, can I just say, maybe I'm a bit naive with these things, because even our podcasters felt the wrath of some fanboys, I would argue. Arguing that, we're totally wrong on stuff, or, you idiot, the Xbox Series X is clearly in every way better than the PlayStation 5. You'd have to be a moron not to understand that, and all this kind of stuff. I know the whole meme about fanboys and blah, 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 but I kind of never really believed it until this announcement, and just exactly what you're saying. People's reaction, it's like they're rooting for a sports team. It's hey, they're going for Collingwood Magpies, and they've got another team's got a star recruit. Oh, this is BS. We've got to get our star recruit. It's I don't know. I just think it's so odd. And maybe just because I'm pretty ambivalent around the console stuff. I don't care where I game in a way.
And you saw a lot of people, it was coming from both sides. It was crazy. You had the Xbox fanboys being oh, suck shit, Sony. We're winning this war now. We've
yes.
shots fired. And then the Sony people there'll still be multi-platform releases. They're all going to be multi-platform releases, and it was amazing how many people were stating 100% because of something Todd Howard said, which was just completely taken out of context. That they're still going to be releasing them on all consoles. he did not say that. I can't remember the exact quote, but it was like they were just hoping. But on both sides, it was just, oh my god! If you ever need.
Even on that, like one thing I just wanted to say on that. So there was a really cool podcast, like an Xbox podcast, where you actually had Pete Hines, Todd Howard, and Phil Spencer, and you had the guy. What's his name? Is it Major Nelson? I always forget his name.
Yeah, Major Nelson.
Yeah, Major Nelson. And so it's like really, really worthwhile to watch that. It's like only like 30 minutes, but there was a few things that jumped out at me in that. And already the dynamics, you know, Pete Hines, very powerful guy, obviously, in that whole ZeniMax world. He's kind of almost going to Phil Spencer. It's like, you know, hey, when is our back catalog going to come up on Game Pass? You know, he's like, he does not know. You could see it like a real human reaction from him. He's kind of a bit like, what's going to go on? Like because, you know, for them, it's probably no difference from a money perspective. So they just want everything to be on Game Pass, right? And more people playing their games. Like that's great for them as a studio, even in the Xbox world. But you could really see the dynamic. It's like when people are saying, oh, Todd Howard said this, that, it's like, mate, he's not the boss anymore. Like he's just a voice and they want to keep him happy and keep him in that studio. But, you know, if they want to restrict it to Xbox Series X or not, that's going to be totally onto, you know, Phil Spencer and his leadership team to decide those kind of things. So yeah, it's fascinating, everyone's reaction. And this is huge news. I just quickly did a scan through. This is by far the biggest news since we've started the podcast. And I think it has the potential to really shift that landscape in sort of the gaming sphere. Like whether it does or not, it might not. And I think we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, and everyone pointing at Minecraft. You know, pointing at Cuphead, pointing at Ori. Oh, Xbox does do multi-platform stuff. Yeah, but very specific basis, you know. And with Minecraft, It's very different because a lot of that stuff was also already multi-platform, so it made sense to keep it multi-platform when they bought Mojang, or Mojang, however you say it. And the thing is that to assume that the next Elder Scrolls is going to be on PlayStation, you don't assume that's going to be the case. Yeah. Because Microsoft has these huge IPs now that if they want to drive those Game Pass sales, which we've already seen a huge bump, and I think you've got some notes about it as well, is that what better way to drive Game Pass sales than to have the next Elder Scrolls exclusive on Xbox and, you know, PC as well, but on Game Pass. Like,
yeah, and you know, huge. A lot of people's arguments are just so ill-informed. Like, I'll say it like nicely. Like, you know, the example that you had, I don't know, this is not you saying that, but you know, people talking about Cuphead. I'm like, Cuphead, what are you talking about? Cuphead's not owned by Xbox. They're an independent studio. They had a publishing relationship with Xbox, and they gave a lot of funding for Cuphead. But, you know, normally with the exclusivities these days, if you have any business sense at all, you never sign a in perpetuity exclusivity with a console or, you know, a publisher. Like, that's nuts. You just don't do that anymore. So, you know, the biggest ones you normally have are like 18 months, 2 years, 3 years at most. So that's all they did, you know, like they had exclusivity around Xbox, they had it on there, and then, you know, they've moved it to other platforms. Like Ori's different. And I think you're right. I think, you know, especially with Minecraft's such a good example. Minecraft was already on everything, and there's just like the expectation that it is on everything, you know. So I wouldn't even expect, like, I don't know this for a fact, I should check it, but I feel like Minecraft, they'll just launch with Minecraft with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Because it's not like people are going to shift away, I think, from PlayStation to Xbox because of Minecraft. Because that's not even the audience and demographic.
And Minecraft's almost a service at this point. As opposed to like a traditional video game.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they use it in educational functions as well, you know, just goes to prove that point.
Yeah. And you know, they even had the recent update around PSVR for Minecraft. You know, and that's specific to PlayStation. So, you know, they're taking a very smart, very logical and thoughtful approach to how they're going to do it. And the question that, like, because I've got a view on it, but the question for me is, you know, the real critical ones are going to be Starfield, which seems to be not as far away as everyone thought it was. And, you know, I think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be much further away. But, you know, those type of games, you know, the Starfields, whatever the next Doom is, maybe the next Fallout 5, let's just say, or New Vegas 2, fingers crossed for a lot of people, where do you think they will go? Like how are they going to launch? How do you see it playing out?
I see all of these games being exclusive.
And when you say exclusive, you mean like in perpetuity?
Yes.
Ah, interesting. And why do you say that?
Just because I just think at this point, all right, let me preface this. So they have said that that Bethesda will operate rather independently from Xbox as opposed to being like Xbox Game Studios, underneath that banner. Yeah. So that is definitely a plus in the, I guess, and the scoreboard for people that want it multi-platform. But it just, as you've spent this amount of money, you have the perfect opportunity to drive all these people that want to play these games to Game Pass, whether or not it's on PC or Xbox, because all these games will be on PC as well. Which I think if anyone's worried about I don't want to buy an Xbox for it. Well, if you've got a PC, then that's your best option. But I think they will be. But you saw my initial reaction when I saw that news. I'm honestly not a fan of it though. This is not me being like, oh, I play on Xbox, I'm so happy that only I can play these games, or people like me can play these games. No, it sucks. It sucks for people that love Fallout and Elder Scrolls and anything that's made by id, or it sucks for PlayStation owners if that happens. So I think it will, but I hope it doesn't. I do hope that they maybe Elder Scrolls and Fallout are so big that they just say, look, we have the potential to actually make a load more money, basically, heaps more money by actually doing this and striking a deal with Sony on this. So it, to me, I think it will go that way, but I hope it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in the short term, I think we're both 100% on the same page. Why would you want something that can only be played on one platform? It only really benefits the platform holders. People who buy the consoles, they're not benefiting from exclusivity really, because especially if you have healthy exclusivity on both sides, you're missing out on games, and that sort of happened with the Xbox 360 / PlayStation 3 era, where there was pretty decent exclusives on either side of the fence. So it's really are you going to buy both to experience everything? So I mean, it's not great for the gamer, but I don't know. I take a probably longer term view, and I just think, if you have a healthy competition amongst companies where there isn't really natural monopolies, it actually brings the best out of people. It makes you hungrier. It makes you want to make better things, better art, better games, these type of things. So I actually think for the health of the industry, to me, a healthy Xbox is actually great for the industry overall, because it does make people more competitive. And I've thought a lot about it, because I sort of had the same initial thought as you that, for the real AAA, the system sellers, let's call them like that. And, I just did a quick check before, just around, those kind of AAA games. So I'm not talking about Minecraft, I know people probably argue that is a AAA game, but, I'm talking about the games God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, all these type of games.
Big production games.
They're the big movie blockbuster games, right? Yeah. Not the indie that takes off and makes just as much as them. But, these AAA, almost 1,000 staff now, games to produce these games. I looked back and I said, in the last 10 years, what are the biggest selling ones? GTA 5, just ridiculous, 135 million sales. Red Dead Redemption 2, 32 million. And then you get pretty much even Call of Duty Modern Warfare, 30 million, and then Skyrim, 30 million. And you just start to go, oh God, there's just a lot of sales. And, one thing I reflected on, and this is where I've finally landed with it. For me, Mass Effect, in my head, Mass Effect and the trilogy was like a Xbox exclusive. And I know it's not, right? Don't get me wrong. I know it's not. But in my head, I always thought of Mass Effect as an Xbox game. And part of it is just because it got released on Xbox first. It took ages to come out on PlayStation. Mass Effect 3 came out on the Wii U. I don't know if you remember that. Like, it's just like, if you wanted to play that game and you're into that trilogy and you're into that series of games, you got to be on Xbox to get it. So for me, when I look at this, I feel like what they'll do, the most likely scenario is like all the other smaller games. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they release it on both platforms, because their argument will be, if you're on Xbox and you have Game Pass, I mean, you're going to have Game Pass, you're on Xbox, why not? You're going to get it for free, essentially. That's how people will think of it. Oh, I'm just getting the game as it comes out, day and date, whatever the next, Arkane game is or whatever it is, right? Or you can go over to PlayStation and pay $60 for it or $70 in the near future, right? Like, that by itself, you just go, well, you're better off an Xbox. But for the big games, and I think Starfield will be the first one. I feel like what they'll do is they'll put it on Xbox and not really comment whether it's going to be on PlayStation or not, and then announce maybe 6 months after that they're going to bring it across to PlayStation. So create that kind of Mass Effect thing where it's, yes, eventually you can play it, but, with the streamers, with people who are really interested in it, want to watch it, want to play it, it's going to motivate people to go, geez, maybe I should pick up an Xbox instead of a PlayStation because I'm going to get these games day and date and, join in that experience. Or maybe even people who have a PlayStation go, hey, I might get a Series S and, get Game Pass so then I could play that game. And then,
I might upgrade my PC.
Yes, yes.
And get Xbox Game Pass for PC.
Yeah. So I just can't see a world where they don't bring those mega titles to everything. Because honestly, though, it's just the amount of money that they're leaving on the table. And, if you're just looking at the value proposition, I don't think they're losing that much if they do release it a lot later. And I'm talking about, 12 to 18 months after it came out on Xbox. Because it's already lost that sort of huge spike buzz at the start. Is it really going to make a huge difference if 18 months later, you can play Starfield on the PlayStation 5?
Well, we've already...
that shine. I don't think it will.
Well, we've already seen that people are willing to buy Skyrim multiple times across multiple console generations. Yeah. So that just goes to prove that, assuming that the Elder Scrolls 6, whatever it ends up being, is, is in a similar vein, that people would be willing to pick it up if it's 6 months later released on PlayStation 5. Yeah. 100%.
So you're thinking all these big AAA games aren't coming to PS?
Well, you've kind of... I didn't really think about what you suggested, and that makes sense now, is the timed exclusivity, because then you're getting the best of both worlds. Yeah.
And I think genuinely they won't tell people. And I think they'll probe them. Is it coming on PlayStation? And they'll just stick to the company line around, we believe that all gamers can access the best games day and date on Game Pass. And that's where we want people to game. I just don't think they'll even entertain it. And it'll be like a surprise announcement later down the track that it's coming to PlayStation.
It wouldn't surprise me, though, if they say, Wolfenstein 3, whatever they call the next one, is an Xbox exclusive. It wouldn't surprise me if they do keep a few of them while they're potentially doing the other multi-platforms.
Yes. And I wouldn't put that quite in the same category. So, I just looking at it quickly, I'd probably say Starfield, Doom, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls are the ones where I'm kind of considering that they'll go really hard. And then other ones, they might, make, Dishonored is a really good example. Dishonored, I really feel like that they could make that just a pure exclusive. Just kind of there's some that just will sell so well that you're leaving so much money on the table. I don't know. And it's interesting. Microsoft, people kind of forget, Microsoft and Sony, everyone thinks of it as they're similar sized companies. Microsoft is 100 times bigger than Sony. Microsoft is one of the biggest companies in the world. It was the biggest company in the world until Apple just took over recently again. They're a $1 trillion company. For them, $7.5 billion is nothing. So
it was really interesting to see people kind of break that down for the people on Twitter and that, they should buy this company. Sony should buy Square Enix. And everyone's Sony's market value is this, and that would be a quarter of their market value, or something like that. And it's compared to Microsoft, which is, and that's just the nature of it. You know, there's some battles you can't win, and acquisitions, Microsoft would always win if it was a pure money battle. You know, there's no qualms about it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how this plays out. You know, Game Pass is going through the roof. Like back in April, is 10 million people subscribed. Now it's 15 million. And it was bizarre. Like a friend who's not massively into gaming or anything like that, like I've never spoken to them about gaming, mentioned to me that, hey, I've got Xbox Game Pass for PC and they're increasing the prices and all this stuff. I was like, whoa, this thing is really like taking off. It's actually surprising to me. And you know, like I'm always on the fence about getting it. I think I'll get it eventually, especially now that these games are going to be on there. Like honestly, it does change people's views.
Oh my god, this is you in Game Pass is like the most laboured decision-making process I've ever heard, because you know, you'll go out and you'll get some analog product that's like super expensive in comparison, but like a $15 or $10 a month subscription just for Xbox PC Game Pass is like, man, I've been thinking about this for 3 months at this point.
I'm very sensitive about subscriptions.
But you could, I know, I understand, but this one like is even something that, you know, you don't have to lock in at all, which most subscriptions these days you don't. But I just love the fact that you put so much thought into this for what is, from a price standpoint, nothing compared to like those other recent purchases. It's just amazing to me.
It's also stuff like disappears, and that just bothers me. So, you know, Forza Horizon 3 is coming off today, off the whole store. So you can't even buy it anymore.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with Game Pass.
I know that, but dude, if I have the physical disc, I can play that still.
Yeah, you know I know, but that's a whole separate topic.
I know,
like, that's bullshit.
I know. Look, okay, I'll take it back. Like, that's a bad way to frame it, but that's how I think of it. But it's not logical. So, yeah, look, it's I don't know. When I do eventually get Game Pass, and I feel like it is inevitable now, like with the acquisitions they're getting, we'll have to have like a bumper or something for it.
I'll record you a song for it. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, let's get into our next headline, because it has been a big week in gaming.